Inside, beneath the glow of crane games and a toilet sign, a tall boy in a dark uniform stands cool over a punk crumpled at his feet, having flattened him without loosening his collar. His narrowed eyes hold pure boredom as he thinks to himself that a gang shaking people down for lunch money is the most painfully overused cliché he has ever seen, and that they could at least try being a little original. He turns to walk off, but a small trembling voice stops him cold, asking him to excuse her, and a sharp exclamation mark pops above his head as his heart skips at being spoken to. A soft-eyed girl in a school uniform stands there, a shy pink blush warming her cheeks, and she thanks him gently for saving her, her gaze lingering a beat too long. He short-circuits into a flustered wah, and she insists with quiet certainty that he just rescued her, while he covers his confusion by bluntly demanding to know who she even is. Behind her the memory surges back, the gang crowding close with leering grins, one of them curling a finger and telling her to come here while she shrinks away with a frightened no. The flashback splinters, a thug snarling at him to repeat himself and asking if he wants to fight, a heavy thud as someone gets shoved, while he answers with a flat, unimpressed right. Back in the present he tells her flatly that this place draws a bad crowd and she should be careful, suggesting Anipara instead, and she softly says she understands. A narration box reveals Koharu Sanada has a frighteningly mean face but is otherwise an ordinary high schooler, his glare locking onto her bright eyes as she presses closer with an eager anyway. Her whole face blooms into a dazzling blush as she gushes that he appeared the second she was in danger, calling him a superhero as a giant yuwa of joy bursts out of her. Her adoration spills over as she praises him as a prince of justice and her prince charming, while a narration box drops the bombshell that he can read minds, and his eye twitches. The hum of a gathering crowd swells around them, onlookers whispering about whether someone called the police and murmuring that there is a fight, and he goes rigid, a single sweat drop sliding down as his thoughts seize into stunned silence. He tries to escape with a clipped "see ya" and turns to leave, while she flusters and waves him off, stammering that it is really nothing. Walking away, he marvels that this quiet girl is deafeningly loud inside, her thoughts spinning, refusing to believe a boy could blush over a hopeless girl like her. He fires back in his head that he could say the same about her, his face burning, as her thoughts detonate into a shriek, gasping that he is secretly shy. Cheeks flushed, he covers his mouth and admits he has always been feared as a thug, but this is the first time anyone called him cool, and cute too, a soft fuse slipping out. The night exhales into a quiet suburban street, a slender crescent moon resting over the rooftops while scattered stars keep watch, the world tender and still after such a charged encounter. In a warm kitchen, a pair of hands works a sizzling pan with tongs, the gentle shoo of frying filling the air as someone lovingly prepares a meal. A bald man broods over a sprawl of images, lifespan, talent, intelligence, fitness, eyebrows, body fat, musing that all of it is decided the moment we are born, written into us by our genetics. The family crowds around his cooking, voices overlapping with hunger and praise, while a narration box notes the same fated bloodline applies to Koharu Sanada's ability. He stands there blank-faced and faintly blushing, the soft thoughts of his family drifting around him like little clouds, as a narration box reveals the secret written into him, that he carries the bloodline of telepathy. The finished spread sits gleaming on the table, a bowl of rice, a dish of vegetables, a plate of something fresh and steaming, a small humble feast made with care. The family digs in, his father sulking inwardly over the 10,000 yen he lost, while his sister beams that it is amazing and he totally nailed it. His father insists he can quit anytime, Koharu deadpans that the machines are rigged and he should give up, and his sister begs to be taught next weekend. His mother leans in, eyes narrowing as she silently challenges whether he is calling her stupid, while his father panics and Koharu hastily protests no mum. Koharu reminds her she has to actually speak out loud to be heard, as his father melts into pleading, swearing he will quit pachinko and switch to slots. His mother turns away with an unimpressed pout, a little mew of displeasure escaping her, her thoughts trailing off into a sulky silence. The table falls oddly quiet, his father asking if the two of them are talking with their minds again, while Koharu sits stone still and refuses to be drawn in. His father teases that he is awfully silent, his mother silently warns him not one word, and Koharu covers by claiming the food was just too good to speak. Chaos erupts as his father howls and his sister slams the table, while Koharu calmly threatens not to tell mom about the lost 10,000 yen. His mother grins wickedly and declares that as punishment she will cook next week with him as her lab rat, and Koharu mutters a wary I see. Sweat beads on his face as he recalls her rice balls nearly killing him, while his father desperately begs him to stop her so they can drink sake together someday. An exclamation flashes across his father's glasses under Koharu's withering look, the family chaos softening into something warm and fond. His mother sighs wistfully, her eyes half closed, confessing that she wishes she could talk with her mind the way the two of them do. The panel snaps to her wide, glistening eyes brimming with longing, a tiny exclamation mark beside them, the want in her gaze suddenly raw and real. Koharu and his father both throw up their hands in unison, faces flushed and frantic, blurting out together that it is a real pain in the butt, scrambling to talk her out of ever wishing for it. The scene pulls back to the sprawling cityscape at dawn, rooftops stretching to the hills as little chirp-chirp sounds scatter through the morning air, a new day breaking over it all. A high school building comes into view beneath a soft cloudy sky, rows of bicycles parked neatly out front, the quiet hush before the school day begins. A classroom door rattles open and Koharu strolls in with his hands in his pockets, a few girls glancing over as the ordinary morning sets the stage. A wall of disembodied eyes glares out of the darkness, every classmate's hidden gaze fixed on him at once, a silent storm of unspoken judgment. Their thoughts crowd in around him, calling him a punk and wondering if he just glared at someone, while a narration box explains that this is what it is like when you hear people's thoughts, and he can only sigh a tired humph. The classroom buzzes with cruel little voices, someone whining for the monster to make some noise, others muttering that Sanada scares people with his eyes and looks like a creep, every stray thought pressing down on him as he sets his bag down. He squeezes his eyes shut behind his bangs, a single weary ah escaping him as the unbroken noise of everyone's minds grinds against his skull. A little doodle daydream blooms of him sprawled alone on a tiny deserted island, only one looming overhead, as he wishes that once he has enough money he could escape there. The school clock strikes noon with a ringing ding-dong, the chimes echoing down a quiet alley outside, lunchtime finally arriving. He slips away to sit alone against an outside wall with a soft hup, pressing his hands together over his food, his cheeks faintly pink as he savors the rare silence. A jolt of bursts above him, his shoulder twitching as a single loud stray thought cuts through his peace. He glances aside, faintly flustered, noting to himself that was a really loud thought. And there she stands by the fence, the soft-eyed girl from the arcade, frozen mid-step with a startled ah as their eyes meet again. Her inner self shrieks with a sparkling recognizing him as the prince from the other day, while she keeps her face carefully blank. She gives a stiff little bow, he returns a small awkward nod, and her thoughts erupt that they go to the same school. Her mind goes wild, gushing that she was not wrong and he is totally different from how he looks, marveling that he even gave thanks for his food all by himself, while he chews in silence. Tiny chibi versions of her panic and cheer all at once, one vowing to give him one of her egg rolls, another insisting it is just a lame excuse to talk to him, while he notes flatly that she is really overthinking this. Her thoughts thrash in a frenzy, screaming that if he says no she will actually die, agonizing over what to even say, circling around the simple question of whether she can eat with him. She spirals into a storm of self-loathing, calling herself an idiot and trash and a hopeless shut-in, wailing why she is always like this, while he flatly cuts in with a hey. Calm and unbothered, he tells her she can sit here, asking whether she is not going to eat, the smallest kindness offered without ceremony. Her eyes go wide and shining as a tender blush blooms across her whole face, the moment landing soft and warm. She plops down beside him as her thoughts blast out that he is super cool and such a gentleman, while he notes wearily that her thoughts are so loud. She steals a glance at him, and he admits to himself that as nice as it was honestly torture to hear her screaming at herself over him too. He waves it off in his head, thinking she does not have to be that considerate, while her mind scrambles in a panic over what to do now, urging herself to talk and make him think she is an interesting girl. She mentally fans out her talk decks, weather, relationships, manga, lunchbox, a tiny chibi gripping the cards with a determined gore, sternly warning herself not to bore him with otaku talk. She finally blurts that the weather is nice, and he nearly chokes, internally aghast that she is really going with that, while she presses on asking about the lovely weather and he manages a strangled yeah. She instantly crumbles inside, wailing that she is incurably boring and will just die, as he panics with a silent wait, scrambling to save the conversation. Forcing a bright, slightly desperate grin, he throws her a lifeline and asks whether she eats out here often. She brightens and answers that she does, when it is not raining, the two of them trading names as she introduces herself as Yuki Yatsutase, a first year. Still chewing, he tells her he is in the same year as her, and finally gives his own name, Koharu Sanada. She steals a shy sidelong peek at him as he munches in silence, and he privately cheers that he introduced himself successfully, a triumphant yes in his head. Her thoughts spill over again, gushing that she likes how sharp his eyes are, that his messy hair suits him, that his nose is so cute, while he chews stiffly through the praise. His chopsticks go into a frantic chomp-chomp as he wolfs down his food, an exclamation mark popping over her head, her own cheeks blushing as she watches him eat so fast. Cheeks faintly red, he admits to himself that being praised bothers him more than he expected, then mutters that he is off and tells her to enjoy her meal as he scoops up his bag. She watches him go, managing only an IC and a small bye, while he hurries away still chewing, the two of them awkwardly parting. Left alone, she deflates with a trembling little sob, a tiny chibi version of her quivering and crying beside her real, blank-faced self. She agonizes over whether to stop him, wailing that it would just bother him and he would think she is creepy, while he twitches mid-step, and her mind keeps circling back that she really did a good job on those egg rolls. She gazes down at her bento, the neat little compartments holding rice and sides and one perfectly rolled tamagoyaki, her pride and her courage all wrapped into that single egg roll. Across the way, his own memory flickers to him cooking confidently at home, admitting that he cooks a lot and is proud of his own egg rolls, and that honestly he kind of wants to try hers. He chews thoughtfully, conceding that as much as he hates to admit it, he genuinely wants to know how someone his own age would make them. But the panic crashes back in, lightning crackling around him as he reminds himself he barely knows this girl and it would be far too weird to just ask her for one. He frets that he might end up exposing his powers to her, while her loud thoughts cut in marveling at his puffy cheeks, and he tells himself it probably will not happen, but sweat pours down his face with a hard gulp, dread spiking as he imagines that if Yatsutase ever realizes he has been reading her mind, she might just lose it for real. He devours his food in a frantic storm of chomps, sweat flying, while Yatsutase watches wide-eyed and flushed, and a third figure looks on with a quiet, knowing humph. She tucks into her own bento with happy little munches, cheeks puffed, savoring every bite in contented silence. He gulps down his drink in heavy swigs with a satisfied slinging his bag over his shoulder as she sips from her bottle beside him. She lets out a soft, full-bellied sigh that she is so stuffed, while he breathes a quiet, relieved phew, the meal winding down between them. She mumbles to herself, glancing at her bento and noticing she has one egg roll left, a tiny chibi version of her glancing and fidgeting, her heart going bump-a-dump as her courage builds. His memory flashes to the very first time she made the first move, his face scrunched in remembered panic at her boldness, while in the present she steels herself, A wave of guilt washes over him as he silently apologizes to Yatsutase, her name hanging soft in his thoughts. He whirls around with a sudden whoosh and blurts out asking if he can have that egg roll, scolding himself inwardly that he is the real coward here. She freezes, wide-eyed and blushing, her bento tilted toward him with the lone egg roll nestled inside, and softly answers sure. He takes it and bites in, a tense silence falling, while she watches him chew with a nervous chibi gulping at her shoulder, the moment stretched taut. His whole face lights up in helpless delight as he cries that it is so soft and fluffy, so good, the praise bursting out before he can stop it. She trembles, cheeks flushing deep, stunned by his unguarded reaction, while his own eyes go wide as he realizes what he just said out loud. Her face melts into something impossibly cute and bashful, repeating his words back in wonder, soft and fluffy you say, while his thoughts shriek that it is so cute. He clamps up, sweating and red, only for a panicked edge to escape him as the embarrassment finally catches up. He covers fast, snapping a gruff yeah, what, asking if she has a problem, while she flusters and stammers that no, she doesn't, a flailing chibi beside her. The two of them walk off in opposite directions, him cursing inwardly that he should not have done that, her quietly echoing the same regret, both wrecked with embarrassment as he mutters a flat humph. The school bell chimes its ding-dong across the rooftops, the afternoon rolling on under a wide cloudy sky. Yatsutase stumbles through reciting something at the board, fumbling the conjunctive form, while her classmates' cruel thoughts crowd in calling her an idiot and noting she messed up again, and she wills someone to just kill her now. Koharu slumps at his desk half asleep, a narration box noting how the darkness and poison in people's hearts force their way into his mind day in and day out, classmates around him drowsily wishing class would just end. He gazes out the window in profile, reflecting that he never gets disappointed in people because he never had faith in them to begin with, but that this also means he can never love someone. The new dark-haired girl glows radiantly as her inner voice rejoices that her spring has come, the thought blasting out so forcefully that Koharu flinches and sweats over how loud she is. Koharu starts to call out to the girl, a wary "hey miss" on his lips, but he checks himself, thinking maybe he should not, since he refuses to fuel Yatsutase's delusions. The bob-haired girl tilts her head sweetly and asks what is up, her heart broadcasting that now she finally has something to live for. The sheer force of her adoration hits Koharu like a physical blow, his face contorting into a sweating grimace as low growls rumble out of him. In the entryway by the shoe lockers, Koharu resolves that if he cannot stay away from her, then he must at least keep some distance between them. He changes his shoes as the long-haired girl spots him from across the lockers, a small tap of her steps as she turns his way. She gives him a polite little nod, her thought sweetly framing it as a nod for their future friendship, and Koharu startles at the gesture. Steeling himself, Koharu tells himself he has to ignore her and strides off with a whip of his collar, leaving the dark-haired girl blinking after him. Her face falls a touch as she concedes to herself that they are not that close yet, a quiet "I guess" trailing off. Later, walking the same road behind him, Yatsutase mentally scolds the other girl for expecting a nod back and tells her to know her place, while Koharu cringes that hearing his own thought aimed outward seriously hurts. Pacing ahead of her down a residential street, Koharu reasons that this roundabout approach is pointless and that he will only end up hurting her more. He stops and turns, deciding that if he wants her to stay away the simplest path is to make her hate him, so he resolves to do it now and calls out a flat "Hey, Yatsutase." She lights up instantly, beaming that he remembered her name with a triumphant "eh," even as Koharu inwardly curses that he just made her like him more again. Her face goes soft and serious as he tells her this is where she comes to hate him, mumbling a reluctant because, sorry, while a smirking Koharu privately admits it is all part of his plan to get her hopes up. Standing before her, Koharu reflects that he can hear people's thoughts whether he wants to or not, so he knows exactly how to get on their nerves. The next moment, all his menace evaporates as he huffs and points eagerly at a coffee shop named Amaterasu, grinning wide and tongue out as he asks if she knows this cafe opens very late, then presses whether she gets it. Outside the storefront he strikes a triumphant pose by the door, gesturing proudly at his pun for the bewildered girl. Fidgeting and cackling with his goofy joke, he is met by the girl's utterly flat, deadpan stare. Undeterred, he keeps egging himself on with a nice and a go on while her thoughts swing the other way, marveling that puns are really rare these days, and noting that Sanada-kun likes wordplay, and that she has never even paid attention to this cafe. Her admiration overflows as she gushes that he is so unique, with a real sense of humor, and that she never thought he liked coffee, finding it so cute, all of it landing on Koharu as a despairing "dang it." Koharu spins around mid-walk, grinning that speaking of cafes, he actually knows this place, and that this is where the fun begins. Behind them a gross older guy is hitting on someone, and Koharu's stomach drops as he realizes she is getting into trouble again, the man asking what she is looking at. The long-haired girl is being cornered to the point of tears, sniffling and apologizing while the man mumbles at her. The man preens to himself that she was just looking at him, certain she is totally into him, and oily invites her to a bar he knows about to open. Koharu curses that he has to help her, breaking into a run, while the girl can only stammer a horrified "no way." He skids in, and the girl marvels that people who like stupid jokes are not so rare after all, sure he did not mean to make that pun. The man leans in with a greasy smile, telling the girl his car is nearby and to come on, let's go. Koharu strides up and inserts himself between them, a silent dark wall against the older man. The long-haired girl's face cracks wide with shock at his sudden appearance. Koharu seizes her wrist without a word. He declares flatly that they are going, ignoring the man's demand to know what he is doing, his grip locked tight. He marches her away as the man gapes, the girl's heart already fluttering at being pulled along. The man fumbles a retreat, asking if she has a boyfriend and telling her to just call him then, while Koharu inwardly grumbles that he had to do this or the creep would never quit. The girl stares up at Koharu, startled, while he privately wonders how on earth she gets bullied this much. Her thoughts scatter into a flustered mess, and Koharu notes with alarm that her mind has gone completely to pieces. He turns to her, sharp-eyed, and asks if she is okay, if the guy hurt her. She squeezes his hand with a grip that makes her own heart go thump, thump, while Koharu blinks in confusion. She gazes at their joined hands, and the whole world narrows to a single radiant thought, that she likes him. Koharu's eyes widen as the force of her feeling hits him. Blushing furiously, the girl's heart overflows into a stammering confession, that she likes Sanada-kun, that she loves him. She clutches his hand tighter, trembling, as Koharu sweats under the weight of it. An elderly couple ambles past and teases that the two look awfully friendly, the old man chuckling that it reminds him of them back in the day. Koharu recoils with a flustered hup, flinging his arms up, while the girl shrinks bashfully beside him. The girl turns to him, tearful and grateful, thanking him because he saved her again, and stammering an apology. Beaming, she thanks him properly, calling out a heartfelt Sanada-kun, "Thank you." Koharu's face contorts in pure dread as the realization slams home. Surrounded by her broadcasted affection, he despairs over why this happened, having only wanted her to hate him, while she murmurs a soft wait. She floats along beside him with literal hearts in her eyes, mortified and dazzled, as Koharu's inner voice yells at her, "You idiot." He berates himself in a frenzy, asking if he is really going to throw his values away, warning that she is cute and likes him but he cannot get excited. Steeling himself, he declares that he has made up his mind. Picturing a pinball scoreboard, he vows he is on a losing streak right now but he will turn it around and score a beautiful breakup. Sweating and resolute, he swears it will happen next time. He grits his teeth and renews the oath that next time he will make her hate him for sure, just follow his heart. The chapter resets the premise that Sanada Koharu is a boy who reads minds and believes this means he can never love, while a classmate, Yuki Yatsutase, now loves him to bits, the recap bleeding into Koharu trudging through a noisy classroom that he cannot let stand. The two sit across from each other at a cafe table, a small bird at the window, Koharu grimly resolved. A waitress sets a cup of coffee down with a clack as Yatsutase watches, wide-eyed. Yatsutase's thoughts spike into a shriek, panicking that she is at a cafe with Sanada and it is all too sudden, while she manages only a tiny thanks. Koharu smirks to himself, thinking too bad, Yatsutase, his plan already in motion. He silently declares that this is where she will come to hate him, the air crackling around the oblivious girl and her coffee cup. He chuckles darkly that she has no idea what is coming but she will regret it soon enough, while a nearby admirer swoons that his smile is a perfect 10. Background patrons whisper nervously, wondering if that girl will be okay, eyeing the obviously up-to-no-good boy with the scary eyes. A hand lifts the empty coffee cup from its saucer. Koharu leans across the table, eyes glinting, thinking the time is nigh as he tells her all right, let's get out of here. At the register the staff hands over the bill, and Koharu's mind hisses that he will, now. He tells Yatsutase he has to go to the men's room, and she answers a simple okay. In his head he completes the scheme, that he will proceed to not pay, the door slamming behind his imagination. He pictures her left stranded at the register waiting for him, certain anyone would be annoyed and frustrated by it. He plots that next he will breeze back out pretending nothing happened, smirking that he never paid. His fantasy balloons into Yatsutase's furious face screaming that he is a scumbag who should at least pay for his order. The daydream pops, revealing him simply perched on the toilet, scheming that this is exactly what would happen. He sneers that it is an absolutely devilish plan, bracing himself with a here we go. He saunters back out and lies that yes, he paid, telling her to get going. Cheerful door chimes ring as the two step out of the cafe into the street. They walk side by side down the quiet road, footsteps softly tapping. Koharu sweats, sneaking a sidelong glance at the silent, oblivious Yatsutase. Instead of anger, Yatsutase is starry-eyed and dazzled, gushing inwardly that she has never been to a cafe and it felt so different in there. A flicker of doubt crosses her face with a soft "oh." She suddenly bows deeply and thanks him for taking her there, and Koharu silently screams that this is not what he wanted. He blurts out that he did not actually pay, but she calmly says it is fine, having never planned to make him pay in the first place. He insists he wanted her to thank him for the cafe, not shrug off the dine and dash, and she just blinks at him. Koharu wheels around, baffled, demanding to know what is with her. He concludes his plan was too flimsy, certain she is so rich that an unpaid bill is mere chump change to her. Spotting something, he points and asks her what that phone number is. Yatsutase frantically deflects that it is nothing, hiding that she clocked a staff hiring poster, insisting paying was her choice and she cannot make him worry. The truth spills out in her head, that she is actually broke and is desperate for him not to find out. Koharu sweats, stunned by the gulf between what he assumed and what he is hearing. Yatsutase secretly vows to take the part-time job, save up, and buy a smartphone so she can finally get his number, a chibi version of her cheering her on. The weight of it all crashes down, Koharu's anguished face silently begging her to just stop already. He reels in despair, agonizing over what he is even supposed to do now. Rallying, he flails and pumps himself up, refusing to crack and ordering himself not to give up. He rationalizes that making her give up now is what is best for her, better than leaving her love unrequited forever. Sweating, he braces to deploy a last resort he never once wanted to use. He brandishes his trump card, a handwritten note reading that he can read your mind, the spell card he is sure will finally make her hate him. He announces aloud that he can see her thoughts and offers to prove it, saying for example, right now she is thinking. Her eyes well up as a trembling I want to surfaces. He commits fully, knowing exposing his power is a huge risk but telling himself sacrifices must be made, pointing and demanding she find him horrible and stay away forever. The trap springs on him instead, as Yatsutase is busy daydreaming about marriage and trying on the name Yuki Sanada, leaving him to realize that admitting he heard that would be like committing a war crime. A small bird wings across the wide open sky, a quiet beat of release. The two stand together at the railing of a small, empty playground. Yatsutase walks beside him trailing little hearts, and Koharu sighs that just being near her wears him out with guilt. He abruptly stops walking, his expression sharpening. At a fork in the road he asks Yatsutase which way she is going. She points off down one street, showing him her route home. Koharu nods that he heads the other way and tosses off a casual see ya. A relieved phew escapes him as he thinks he is finally free, while Yatsutase says a polite bye but her heart screams for him not to go as he turns to leave. A sudden excuse me calls out and freezes him in place. He silently panics, pleading with her not to say it, not yet, that it is far too soon. He braces, certain he already knows what she is going to say, as Yatsutase simply offers a shy thank you for today. His face flushes and locks up as she haltingly begins with I think. Her lips part further, a soft eye will slipping out. Blushing and beaming, she finishes that she will remember today forever. The words strike like a blow, Koharu clutching his chest with an ache as his heart gives a violent throb. His heart hammers bidump as he reels that hearing her say it out loud hits so much harder than a stray thought, half convinced that was almost a confession. He thumps his own chest, snarling at himself to stop getting excited since he does not even like her, while she watches and wonders if that is a gorilla impression. He coughs into his fist, face red, heart still pounding. Composing himself, Koharu mutters that she should actually just forget about today. Yatsutase only stares back at him in silence. Koharu lays it out flatly that he helped her out and then took her to a cafe, insisting it is nothing special. His own face betrays him, flushed and intense as he doubles down that it really is not anything special. They exchange quiet goodbyes, Yatsutase murmuring a soft bye while inside Koharu admits yeah, he guesses so. The two finally part, walking off in opposite directions down the long road. Koharu slows, his profile turning thoughtful as something pulls at him. He suddenly wheels around and calls out a loud hey, and Yatsutase twitches to a startled halt. She turns back toward him, blinking expectantly. Across the long stretch of empty road they face each other, the whole distance between them hanging in the air. Grinning and jabbing a finger straight at her, Koharu declares that next time, it is his treat. She gazes off to the side, lips parted, a faint blush warming her cheeks as the memory of him lingers in her mind. Her eyes go wide and shining, the little trailing dots in her thoughts betraying how completely he has rooted himself there. Koharu scowls to himself as he walks away, and behind him, far down the road, she stands clutching her bag, the word there hovering as he senses her watching. In her mind a giddy declaration blooms, that there is a next time now, her fists balled up against her chest with bashful delight. He scratches furiously at his head, sweating, demanding to know why he did that for, calling himself an idiot while her thoughts erupt in a triumphant yes behind him. He admits to himself, almost grudgingly, that it just does not feel nice to leave things lopsided and stay forever indebted to her. Later, atop a rooftop, a small bird is tossed flapping into the open sky. A masked figure listens with a thoughtful and an eye see as the bird caws insistently into their ear. The bird relays the whole saga, that some ruffian abducted Yuki-chan and imprisoned her in that cafe, then tried to make her a dine and dasher, and the listener mutters that her bloodline can be a troublesome thing. The masked figure narrows their eyes as the little bird pecks at their cheek, remarking flatly that it looks like another pest has appeared. Profile sharp against the light, they declare the news bad and resolve that it must be dealt with. A recap folds the story together, that one day ago Sanada hatched a plan to make Yatsutase stop liking him, yet they ended up at a cafe anyway. He refused to pay, and still he promised her a next time as his treat. Out on the street he jogs along, flustered, wondering how this happened and whether he was too weak-willed, as narration teases that the troubled young man still stubbornly refuses love. A jolt runs through him, his eyes snapping wide with a startled ah. He freezes, realizing he knows only one person whose thoughts ever ring this loudly in his head. Walking just ahead of him is a familiar broad back, and the swooning narration gushes over his punkish ruffled hair and his firm broad back. It really is Sanada, and trailing behind with a friend she stares at him wide-eyed and blushing, her thoughts running at full power this morning. Her mind spins in a panic over what to do, whether to call out and thank him for yesterday, a tiny devil cheering go for it while an angel pleads wait, as she frets that talking to him will give her crush away. He grits his teeth and ducks his head, sweating, begging her silently to stop it, knowing that if she thanks him for the drinks she already paid for he will feel truly terrible. With a startled ah and a comical whoosh he bolts, his own thoughts screaming retreat as he flees down the road. She gazes off to the side, lips parted, a faint blush warming her cheeks as the memory of him lingers in her mind. Koharu listens to the chorus of Marin's frantic inner praise, wondering in disbelief whether there is anything about him she does not like, as her thoughts gush over his long life, his lead-taking, his fast running, and his strong legs. He grits his teeth with a low gore, resolving that he had better get to work on the next plan to make her hate him. Later, a creepy classmate lurks behind, scheming to wait until Yuki passes the gate so he can follow her, leering over her sexy thighs and calling her his angel, while Koharu seeds nearby. The creep loiters by the station entrance, lying in wait for her to arrive. He lights up with glee as she appears, crowing that she is here at last. Koharu freezes as a heavy rumble builds in his gut, sweat beading as he wonders what on earth is happening. He smiles a thuggish smile to himself over the creep, thinking what an idiot, while passers-by murmur that he looks like he could kill someone. Yatsutase spots him with a startled ah and a wow, marveling at when Sanada got here, while the creep slinks off in defeat. Koharu greets her with a flat hey, noting darkly that there are far too many creeps hanging around her. She blinks back at him with a soft right, color rising in her cheeks. Just as she starts to thank him, a booming good morning erupts and a flag flaps into frame, jolting them both. A peppy ponytailed girl with a sash leads a greeting campaign, urging everyone to say it as a banner waves and a chorus rings out to have a nice day. The girl beams with blazing energy, belting out good morning so brightly the very air seems to sparkle. Koharu recoils, wondering if she is some sort of energy monster, as she drills the boys to speak louder and they meekly mumble their morning greetings. She suddenly waves and shouts for Yuki, and Koharu tenses as she comes bounding over. Yatsutase greets her warmly as Marin-chan, the two girls falling into easy familiarity. Marin fixes Koharu with a sudden sharp glare, the friendliness flickering for an instant. She gushes that it is so nice to see Yuki this early, and Yuki softly agrees that she feels the same. Marin brushes it off as just part of her class president duties, though something strained flickers under her cheerful smile. She confides that everyone treats the greeting activities as a joke and she is the only one taking them seriously like an idiot, and Yuki murmurs that it sucks. Behind a wall of cruel inner voices mocking the pathetic class rep, Yatsutase gently tells Marin she is amazing and offers to help with anything she needs. Marin nearly bursts into tears, heart-eyed and trembling, thinking how ugly she feels beside someone so cute, yet how lucky she is to see Yuki-chan every day. Reading her, Koharu softens and concludes that she is not an energy monster after all. Then her thoughts spiral into worship of Yuki-chan as a perfect angel, and Koharu revises his verdict, deciding she is a budding nutjob. Marin eyes Koharu as he tries to slink away, having heard the club gained a new member, and asks pointedly if that is him. He inwardly curses that they got him, unable to escape after all, as Yuki quietly confirms it is. Marin's eyes narrow into a cold, scrutinizing glare fixed right on him. She thrusts out a hand and cheerfully introduces herself as Marin Haikiai, Yuki's childhood friend and neighbor. She chirps a bright nice to meet you, Sanada, while her thoughts curdle with resentment that he joined Yuki-chan's club and took her to a cafe without her. Koharu puzzles over how she knows his name and what happened yesterday, since Yatsutase clearly never told her. Marin's inner monologue goes feral, branding his face as villainous, accusing him of looking at Yuki lewdly, and raging at how an insect like him dares flock to Yuki-chan's holy light. His eye twitches above a strained, forced smile as he wonders what is with this girl. He clenches his fist, telling himself that ever since he accepted his bloodline, he gave up on the very matters of love she accuses him of. They grip hands in a fierce spim, Koharu silently vowing to prove just how pure and utterly uninterested in Yatsutase he really is. Marin tells Yuki to go on ahead so she can talk to him, secretly plotting to hold him here. Yatsutase blinks, faintly flushed, her thoughts trailing into an uncertain silence. She quietly says okay, her eyes oddly sharp, as Marin and Koharu's handshake lingers. Yuki walks off as told while Marin waves her away with a sunny smile, though Yuki's backward glance carries a strange tension. The instant Yuki is gone, Marin's face curdles into something dark and scheming as she tugs him aside with a low "now, shall we?" Later, the school building stands quiet, a faint rattle drifting out from within. A door slams as Koharu smirks and braces himself, daring Marin to do her worst. But it is Yatsutase standing there with her hand on the door, leaving him stunned at how she could possibly be the one who came in. The two stare at each other, both blushing and flustered, each demanding to know why the other is here. Yuki shyly explains that Marin-chan told her to come, and Koharu realizes with dawning dread that this is how it is. He sweats, cornered and rattled, as Yatsutase softly speaks his name. She steels herself and announces that she knows this is sudden, but she needs him to hear her real feelings. His eyes blow wide with panic, sweat streaking down as he stammers her name and a feeble hey. But the scene cuts to a cold-eyed girl flatly telling someone not to talk to her because they give her the creeps. This girl coldly says she could let it all slide, the toilet dash and being stuck with the bill, calling the dine and dash his bad joke and insisting she is a good person, while a sweating boy shivers and she thinks how sick of him she is. She delivers the final blow, telling him he is annoying and to never show his face again, and to quit the club too. Koharu sweats, eyes wide and unsettled, as the realization of who stands before him sinks in. He stammers a wary hey, struggling to grasp what is going on. Light flares as the cold girl is revealed to be Haikiai, and Koharu demands to know why she is dressed up as Yatsutase. The disguise drops as he marvels how the real differences clicking into place in his mind. Back in her ponytail, Marin reels in shock, demanding to know how he saw through her. Her wide eye fills the panel as she insists it is impossible that he pierced her illusion. Koharu thinks it was no simple illusion, since her voice and manners were exactly like Yatsutase, while the disguised Marin softly tries his name again. He presses her on how she knew about the bad jokes and his shirking the bill when only he and Yatsutase were there, wondering if she too is from a special bloodline. Marin, still wearing Yatsutase's look, smiles slyly and thinks that now it has come to this. Her narrowed eye glints as she recalls that earlier a pervert at the gate was eyeing Yuki-chan. Koharu recalls that same gate creep, reflecting that Yatsutase always attracts all sorts of dangers. Marin's eye softens with pity as she laments poor Yuki-chan. Her face spirals into manic obsession, swirling-eyed and tongue-out, apologizing for stalking Yuki but insisting it is all to protect her, who must never know she is always watching. Koharu's eye twitches in alarm as he concludes this girl is even crazier than he thought. Marin whirls and slams a hand against the shelf with a whoosh, her swirling eye blazing as she snarls whether he wants to get hurt. She drops into a fierce battle stance with a beam, brandishing a staff and glaring him down. Koharu calmly braces a hand on the window as a hand reaches for the door with a clack. Marin lunges with a whump, charging at him through a cloud of dust. Her face tightens with grim determination as she closes in. She charges through her own smokescreen vowing it is still enough to beat him, but the haze will last only seconds and the window hangs open. She swings with a visage, smugly noting she is only using the back of the sword though he does not know that, daring him to cower in the fear of death. Her eye snaps wide in shock as Koharu's hand catches the blade mid-swing. With a bim he seizes her wrist and disarms her, leaving Marin wide-eyed and stunned. She reels that he stopped the blade with his bare hands in the fog, baffled that he knew she was using the back. Sweating, she reels that he saw through her disguise and now this too, while Koharu stands smug across the equipment room with an humph. Her eyes widen with dread as she wonders whether he too is from a special bloodline. Koharu puts on a menacing grin, thinking he needs to distract her, and growls a low hey. He taunts her, listing the poses, smoke bombs, swordplay, and illusion skills, and asks if she is kind of like a ninja. Marin fakes a sweaty laugh, deflecting that he reads too much manga and she has no idea what he means, while inwardly panicking at how sharp he is. She sighs a relieved phew, thinking that was close, while Koharu privately confirms her secret bloodline of illusion ninjas and notes her low-profile instinct is very ninja-like. She lets out a giant sneeze ending in Gozaru, the archaic samurai speech slipping out and giving her away. She blurts Gozaru again and again in a panic, prompting Koharu to dryly retract the low-profile compliment. Sniffling, she tries to save face by claiming she is terrifying, privately admitting the smoke makes her sneeze and her face turns red, and deciding to retreat. She freezes wide-eyed and flushed as a sharp voice cuts in demanding to be listened to. The door slides open and Yatsutase bursts in shouting listen to me, leaving Koharu and the flustered Marin blinking at what is with her. The real Yatsutase stands in the doorway facing them both, the truth of the impersonation now hanging in the air. Koharu and the disguised Marin freeze in dawning realization with a small "oh," while Yatsutase stares blankly back. Yatsutase explains the teacher told her to relay something about the club, while a flustered Marin yelps Yuki and scrambles with a whoosh. Marin whispers furiously to her little bird, scolding it for not keeping watch on Yuki-chan, while the bird caws that it did not hear her. Koharu watches in mild amazement, realizing the bird is her scout and that ninjas can apparently talk to birds. Yatsutase quietly admits she lied, and Koharu tenses with a wary uh-oh. She confesses she made up the excuse about a teacher sending her to find Sanada, her hand reaching out. She lowers her eyes and admits she was really just worried about Marin-chan snatching Sanada away from her. She berates herself as terrible for being jealous of her own friend, but confesses she cannot help being worried. She praises Marin-chan as cute, cheerful, and pretty, certain all the boys want her, even as Marin laughs awkwardly nearby. Koharu watches from afar, marveling that she searched the whole school for them and wondering if he himself is that clingy. Yatsutase clenches her jaw and spirals, condemning herself as the worst, basically a stalker now. Koharu silently snaps at the oblivious Marin, calling her an idiot for making the situation worse, while racking his brain for what to do. Yatsutase smiles stiffly and asks what the two of them were doing in there, while Koharu inwardly begs her not to say it. He flails in a sweaty panic, blurting that they were just talking and begging her not to misunderstand. Marin leans in with a deadly glare, threatening to kill him if he tells Yuki-chan, since she does not want Yuki to know she protects her all the time. Koharu protests that her whispered threat is making it sound shady, while Yatsutase watches them lean close, her expression flat. Marin, sweating and wide-eyed, waves her hands and insists with a forced grin that nothing happened and they were not doing anything bad. Yatsutase studies them in silence, her face unreadable and faintly troubled. Marin's eyes dart nervously side to side, glancing about with a frozen, sweating smile under Yatsutase's stare. A tense close-up lingers on Yatsutase's downturned mouth, her silence stretching thin. Her eye glistens with quiet hurt as she murmurs a low "I see." She stands alone and downcast in the doorway, a tiny chibi version of herself drooping at her side, as Koharu senses he has wounded her. The little chibi Yatsutase tugs glumly at her own skirt hem, a picture of dejected sulking. The chibi turns a flat, suspicious stare on them, pressing that they were definitely doing something in there. Koharu silently snaps at the oblivious Marin, calling her an idiot for making the situation worse. Marin steps forward and apologizes to Yuki-chan for lying to her, as a wary Yatsutase looks on. Marin braces herself, thinking she has no choice but to come clean. Her expression hardens with resolve, thinking that to fight against his bloodline, being normal just will not cut it. Koharu startles, realizing Marin is about to invoke Yatsutase's bloodline out loud. He sweats and reels, wondering in disbelief whether Yatsutase is seriously from a special bloodline too. He stares at her face, flustered and wondering just who these people are, half thinking that mysteries make girls more attractive. Marin hastily flees the mess she made, chirping about class rep work, while Yatsutase walks on as the picture of serenity, leaving her and Sanada behind. Koharu observes that Yatsutase always looks so prim and proper, like the daughter of a rich family, her emotions impossible to read. He walks the hall with his usual fearsome glare, sending nearby students into a panic that he is glaring at Yatsutase and they should run. Despite her placid exterior, a storm brews in Yatsutase's young heart, a tiny stunned chibi peeking out behind her. Yatsutase replays the scene in her mind, fixating that he was alone in the room with Marin-chan, whose face was red and flustered as if hiding something. Koharu, blushing and grimacing, tries to tell her she has got the wrong idea. Glancing at her guarded expression, he decides this is not a good time to ask about her special bloodline. Later, a school clock chimes ding-dong as the day rolls on. As Koharu turns to leave, a door rattles open and a voice calls out "Hey, Sanada," asking him to wait. It is Marin again, glaring and telling him not to think he can run, ordering him to follow her to talk about the club. Koharu scowls warily, sweat on his brow, and grumbles her name, Haikiai. Marin broods that this is the first time anyone outside the village saw through her disguise, wondering whether she was just careless or something more. She resolves to make sure whether he is from a special bloodline, fearing Yuki-chan is in danger, and vowing to cut him down like the insect he is. Koharu, climbing a chained-off no-entry stairwell, frets that he wants to live in peace and still does not want to reveal his abilities. He peeks up the empty stairwell toward the rooftop door, the landing quiet and deserted. Crammed into the tiny landing, a blushing Yatsutase flusters that he is right next to her, while Koharu thinks the cramped place needs more space. Marin slams a hand against the wall with a beam, declaring that before they join the club, she has got to check something. She smugly notes that Sanada saved Yatsutase at the game center and has been close since, while he fires back asking how she knew, accusing her of being the real stalker. Koharu deflects, claiming one-sided romances cannot be allowed in the club as if against the rules, then asks Yatsutase if it is not awkward for her too. Yatsutase startles, blushing and wide-eyed, stammering a flustered "was I guess." She inwardly admits she was so happy to be in the same club as him she never thought about that, even as she blurts that he is right. Marin gushes with heart eyes that Yuki-chan is a true proper lady who would of course never accept that kind of thing. Koharu sweats and wonders if Marin forgot she is disguised as the teacher right now, as she gushes Yuki-chan's name and Yatsutase gives her an odd look. Playing along with the disguise, Koharu tells her not to worry, ma'am, since he is not doing any of that stuff. Watching them together, Yatsutase's heart sinks as she spirals into thinking that of course Sanada likes Marin-chan, and maybe she likes him back. Yatsutase fixes a dark glare on them, growing strong-willed at her wit's end, while a sweating Koharu thinks maybe he should corner Marin into talking about what they did. Koharu turns the tables on Marin, pointing out that this morning she chased away the pervert creeping on Yuki, calling her real possessive, his eye twitching. Yatsutase lights up, blushing and wide-eyed, mistaking his words and gasping that Sanada-kun chased the pervert away for her. Koharu keeps the pressure on Marin, telling her she is acting suspicious and is always looking at Yuki-chan. Marin schemes that this will make Yuki-chan see what a coward he is, while a blushing Yatsutase stares hard and flusters that there is no way he is always looking at her. Koharu grimaces, sweating and cornered, silently cursing dang it and agonizing over what to do now. Marin huffs giddily that she is right next to Yuki-chan, while Yatsutase, emboldened by her own desires, asks how Marin feels about Sanada, noting she knows a student named Haikiai. The three stand crammed together on the landing as Yatsutase softly presses the question about Marin-chan. Yatsutase smiles warmly, blushing, and answers that Marin-chan is a very good friend to her. Her smile falters and her eyes lower as she adds that maybe Marin-chan is Sanada's girlfriend, Koharu frowning below. Koharu sharply calls out "Hey, Yatsutase," and she startles with a flustered yes. He hurriedly insists that what happened this morning between him and Haikiai is really not what she thinks, just some boring stuff. Flushed, he urges her not to go getting any wrong ideas. Yatsutase lowers her eyes, blushing and quiet, processing his words in silence. Marin, still disguised, laughs it off saying she hears Haikiai thinks of Sanada like a bug, as if anything happened, while Koharu thinks she is really running her mouth. Down below, a real student seeks Ms. Kagamino for help with modern Japanese and is told she ran upstairs, and Marin silently panics at being impersonated. Marin bolts through the rooftop door with a clack, blurting that she has got to go for a smoke, as Yatsutase points out that way only leads to the roof. With Marin gone, Koharu notes lunchtime is almost over and says let's go,